Welcome back. We will continue with our learning journey on Power BI. Today is the 6th day of our training. So in the previous 5 days, we had understood about how to install Power BI, the look and feel of the interface, we got familiar with it. And mostly, extensively, we have seen all the options that we have with respect to data transformation in the Power Query editor. We also discussed in detail about the relationships that we can create. That is data modeling, right? Data modeling, different types of relationships that we can create between the tables. So all this was covered in the previous week during the first 5 sessions of the training. And now we are in a position where we can finally start creating the charts. So specifically in the previous session where we discussed about fact dimension model, we understood about the cardinality, creating the data model, the cardinality, which is one-to-one relationship, many-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many. Also the direction of the filtering, which could be either single or both. So after all of this, now that we are familiar with Power Query, to a significant extent, we know data transformation, we know how to build our data models, we are in a position to go ahead and start off with the report layout, to start creating charts under report layout. Okay, so today I'll be, actually not just today, from now on, the remaining few sessions, we will be working on Power BI desktop, where we will first get familiar with the report layout. Then we will try to learn some basic charts that can be created, bar graph, text table, pie chart, post which we will, of course, with each chart, okay, for each and every chart, we will explore the format option which is available. So this is the agenda for today's session. All right, without much delay, I will go ahead and open Power BI now. And the data that I will be using for this is the coffee chain data, which we had used for building our data model. Now, it is an Excel file, so I'm going to choose Excel and connect to this coffee chain tables data. Once I'm connected to that data, you can see that the navigator shows us all the tables in that Excel. This is fact table, and when I look at the data from the fact table, it is perfectly fine. The column headers have been read correctly. There are no null columns or null rows. There is no corrupt data over here. Everything looks pretty neat. So there's nothing much that I have to do. Location table. Here also the headers are read properly. Data is organized well. No errors, no nulls, nothing. Next is product. This also looks perfectly fine. So we don't need to transform this data. We don't have to go and transform it. I'm just selecting all the 3 tables by clicking on the checkbox, and I'll directly load them into Power BI desktop. Earlier, we used to go to transform data and learn and apply some transformation techniques. This data doesn't require any transformation. So I'll directly load it into the model. And when we load data into the model, meaning into Power BI desktop, it automatically detects the connections, the relations. Okay, it will automatically detect the relationships and it will automatically create the relationships. To make sure that everything is perfectly identified here and recognized, if you want, you can go to the model view. This third option here on the left side is the model view. We could go there and we can go ahead and check the relationships created. So we can see it has recognized that there is a relation between product table and fact table. One-to-many cardinality is used. And there's also a relation between fact table and location table, many-to-one. Or one-to-many, if you take in this direction, one-to-many. Okay. So what is the field on which the relationship is established on this model? How do we recognize that? When we just go to that link, the line, okay. When I go there, you see product ID from the product table and product ID from the fact table are both highlighted, which means the relationship is based on these 2 fields. Of course, you could right click on the relationship and you could check the properties and you can see the fields are highlighted, product ID. It is a many-to-one relationship, fact table being on the top, product at the bottom, and the direction of filtering as of now is single, which means from fact table, from the product table, look at the arrow mark, it's coming this side. So from the product table, we're going to filter the fact table. Means when a product is given, you can identify all the transactions corresponding to that product over here. Or if you give the product ID, it can fetch all the transactions corresponding to it that way. And here the relationship is on. When I hover the mouse pointer on the line, on the connecting line, right? You can see area code is getting highlighted in both places. And the direction of the filtering is like this. Means given the area code, we can obtain the details, complete details for each area code or market size or state. Given those fields, we can bring the data from the fact table. I'm not going to change the direction of the filter or the relationship. Everything seems perfectly fine to me. So I will just proceed. At some point, if it doesn't work, I may have to come back and change this to a bidirectional filter, both directions. But for now, I'm happy with single direction. So now I'll go to my report view. We also have data view. If you might want to get a preview of your data, you could very well go to the data view and see it. And down here on the bottom left corner, if you notice, you can see the number of rows in that connection. There are 4,248 rows in fact table. And when I click on location, there are 156 rows. And when I click on product, there are 13 rows. So you get some statistics here at the bottom left corner. Finally, this is the report view, which is basically the first one. Here we have the menu bar, and depending on the option that you select on the menu, accordingly, the options on the ribbon will get updated. So first you have data connectors, then you have the option to go to Power Query Editor using transform data. If you feel that the underlying data has been modified, you can refresh the data so that all the visuals get updated, showing the latest information. Okay, then we have, of course, calculations that we can write by using DAX or by just using some inbuilt capabilities. Okay, we have certain options here. We can insert text box, some new visuals, etc. Now on the report layout, the one that I am on here, this is the canvas, report canvas. So in order to start building visuals with the data that we have, we just need to start dragging the fields from the data pane into the report canvas. Visualizations, build visual. It basically gives you an idea about different types of visuals that we can create in Power BI. And the list is not just limited to these few visuals. We can create many more visuals. Okay. And then the option to format them is shifted up here. If anybody is familiar with a slightly older version of Power BI, here itself you used to get the format painter, like a roller, paint roller symbol and the analytics symbol. But in the latest edition or the latest upgraded version, format is up here. Up here, we must go here to access the formatting options. So I'll go back to building a visual icon, which is this one. And these are the different visuals I can build. And here is the data that I have. I have data from fact table. And if I expand location, you can see the fields from location. And we have some data from product table. 3 different tables are present in our model. And the relationship between these tables was automatically detected by Power BI. I didn't go and make any relationship. It automatically detected the relationships. Now to start building a visual, it's saying drag the fields from the data pane onto the report canvas. This area is the report canvas. So I could simply take fields and drop it here. Let's see what will happen. Let's say I would like to use product ID. So I'm going to drag and drop it here. It's going to by default create a text table. You can see the list of products have appeared. By default, it is creating a text table and list of products have appeared, 1 to 13. Of course, the font size is very, very small and tiny and it's not very clearly visible. Now you can see this frame around it, right? You can see the frame around it. So when you go to the corner or you go to this particular block on the frame, you can actually adjust the size by doing a click and drag. If you want to increase the size, decrease the size, you could do it. Like you have the crop feature in a Word document or in PowerPoint and all, similarly, like crop, to crop a photo. Next, I directly brought product ID into the report canvas. And it is showing me the list of products. It created a column called as product ID. and the product IDs are listed out one below the other in this column. So where did this field actually go and sit? For that, we need to check the visualizations pane down here. It went into columns. Now, on slightly older versions, this was called values. It is now called columns. This particular filters pane is not required for us as of now. We'll not discuss this today. So I'm going to minimize it or collapse it. Okay, so you can notice that Power BI automatically made an entry for product ID here under columns. Okay, what if I might want to add another column? Product ID is here, but the name of the product is present in the product table. So I'd like to bring that also. I could very well do it. Product, I will bring it, drop it here. And you can see the list of products also have appeared. Okay, now let's say for each of these products, I'm interested in looking at what is the sales like. So again, I'll just bring sales. You can either take it into the visual and drop it there. Sales becomes another column. Or I did a Control Z to undo that step. Or I could just bring sales and drop it here in this columns box over here. So you can see the sum of sales displayed and total also has come automatically. Now, what if I'm not interested in the sum of sales? What if I'm interested in getting the average of sales? Then we go to this field here that is here under the columns box, and then I'll change it to average. What are the other aggregations we have? Minimum, maximum, count, distinct, and count, standard deviation, variance, and median. We can also show it as a percentage. Okay, we also have an option to show this data as a percentage. So as of now, all I want is to change it to average. So I'll make it average. Here we can see the average sales for each product now. Now this total, it would depend on the aggregation that you have used. So here, if it is average of sales, it's going to compute the average of these values and display under total. We cannot change it. Suppose I'm looking at sum of sales, then the total is going to be summation of all of these numbers. So it would depend on what aggregation you have used. Accordingly, this total will come. You can't change it to something else. All right, I hope this point is clear. So that is how you build it. This is basically a text table, a simple table. If you observe slightly closely here in the visualizations pane, you will notice that of all the visuals, this is having an outline. Because by default, Power BI created a table. When I dragged the fields directly into the canvas, it created a table. That is the active visualization right now. Okay. Now, what kind of formatting can we do? Let's see, along with sales, I will show profit also. So I want another field indicating profit. My table is ready. Very, very tiny font. It's hardly visible. I'm not able to see it clearly. And I'm not happy about its visual thing. Okay, so slightly we can make it better by going here, this zoom option. But overall, how do I format it? How do I adjust the color? How do I adjust the size, the font type, these kind of things? So in order to achieve that, I'll have to go to the format option. For this one chart, which is the very first chart that I'm showing you all, I'm going to show you quite a lot of features with respect to formatting. And from the subsequent charts onwards, it is pretty much the same. Depending on the chart, the formatting options will change. All the charts will not have all the options. It will vary from chart to chart, but you will definitely be in a position to explore each option that is available. Okay, so for the first graph, I will show you all the options, all the important ones. So when I click on this format, this paint brush kind of a thing, right? This is for formatting the visual. Here, first, we have something called as style presets. We have different options. So minimal styles, you don't really want to make it flashy. You don't really want to overdo any sort of formatting. Minimalistic, bare minimum style is applied. Minimalistic. or if I just say none, nothing at all. Okay, it's not so good. Bold header or alternating rows you might want to highlight. Okay, contrast alternating rows. So like this, you have different options to explore. Flashy rows, or maybe bold, flashy headers, and something called as sparse, where you can see it has nicely expanded and utilized all the space, and condensed, where it is just sticking together. So these are the different style presets which are available. At any point of time, if you would like to just go back to whatever was the default thing, you can go back. Every section has the option to reset to default. If you've made any change and you want to revert, you can just do it with one click. This was the default thing. I think I will go ahead and use bold header. Okay. Next, grid. So if you see for a text table, by default, the horizontal grid is there. You can see these horizontal lines separating each row. That is because horizontal grid is on. Suppose I turn it off, they're gone. But here it's better to have the grid. Color. Generally use a very subtle color. The color that is suggested by Power BI here is good, just to make it very bright and visible to you. You see, this is the color I'm using. Width of that line, you can increase. See, the border's width is getting increased. Then, do you want vertical grid lines? Here you can notice by default, vertical grid lines are turned off. If we want, we can turn them on. And again, you can go ahead and change the color. You can increase the width. So all these options are available. This is with respect to the grid lines. So what is the grid? It's basically the lines, vertical and horizontal lines, which are separating the columns, or the horizontal ones which are separating the rows. Then we have values. Values means the appearance of the numbers and the text in here, for which again you can change the font type. Let's say I want to use something else. May not be this, maybe some other font type, font size. You can make it bold, you can make it italic, you could underline it. So it's getting applied to the values in the table. Notice it's getting applied to the values. It's not getting applied to the header. Okay, this is values. And you can choose what text color you might want to use. Okay, you can decide what background color you would want to give. Okay, alternate text color. So let's go with this one. Maybe slightly more darker. And the background, I'll use a light shade for the same thing. It's not looking so good, but just giving you an idea. We can also wrap the text. If there is a very lengthy text, it will get wrapped. I'll just reset everything to default. I'm just giving you a demonstration that all these things can be done. Values and grid also, I will go ahead and reset to default. So whatever changes I'm doing, I can undo it with just one option, reset to default. Now, column headers. So you can see we have a separate option to deal with the values, and we have a separate option to deal with the headers. So whatever changes I make under column headers, it will impact only the header now. You can notice the header that is in bold, that's the only one that is getting impacted. Okay, the text color right now is white. You could use a different color if you want. Okay, background color, whatever background you might want to give to it. Alignment, center aligned, right aligned, or left aligned, and whether you want the wrap text feature to be turned on or not. Okay, so we have these options. And then auto width. You can see that automatically the width of the column is getting adjusted based on the longest member over there. Okay. It is on. That is why they are all getting adjusted in width, the size. Now I'll just reset everything back to default with this one click back. So there is a separate option to work with column headers. Now to work with the totals that are there. Sorry, here. To work with the, you see, it depends on what you, only when you select the graph, for that selection that you make in the report layout, Accordingly, the options will come in the format pane. Okay. Totals. So obviously, whatever changes I'm going to make here will impact the total now. If you want, you can even change this header. So it's saying total, right? I could just go there and let's say I'll call this product level total, or let's just say product total. Product total. So you can see the header, the total, get the title given to the total label is changed to product total. Again, font, okay, all these remain the same. Text color, all these remain the same as earlier. Background color also can be given. Like that. Again, we have the option to reset it to default. Here, I will not do it. I'm happy with what we have done here. Then if you would like to work with a specific column and highlight things, when I went and made changes under values, it impacted all the data in the graph. But what if you would like to work with specific column? This is a very interesting feature. Apart from working with the entire data, you can also go and work with specific column. So let's say product, let us take sales, for instance. I want to work with sales. And whatever changes I make down here, I would like to apply it to all the values. To all the values. If I turn this off, let's say I want to apply it to the header and to the total. Suppose I'm going to apply it to the header and the total pertaining to sum of sales. Then where will it change? I'll change the text color. You see the header and the total. Suppose I change the background color. Again, header and the total. Alignment. Display units. Very interesting. So what if you might want to round it off to the nearest thousands or the nearest millions? You could definitely round it off. And if you want, you can even show decimals, 26.3K. Okay. You can also show decimals. Let's say I want to round it off to the nearest millions. Thousands would be better. So you're getting the idea. That is how we can change it. Again, reset to default. Now, what if I want to work with another column? Or maybe apply this to all values. I'll increase it. I'll turn this on, apply to all values. All the values have been updated based on the formatting I have done corresponding to sales. So what if I want profit also to be updated accordingly? So I could just go there, choose profit and apply the changes. Turn this on to apply the changes everywhere if you want. And then what kind of change would you like to make? So maybe I want this colored text. Maybe you want this colored background. Okay, maybe I would like to round it off to the nearest thousands. Maybe I want to increase the number of decimal places to 2 places. Done. So we can go ahead and do this kind of formatting also. So we have done with specific column the things that we can change. Let me just go back and reset to defaults. After that, the next option after specific columns. So we've seen grid, values, column headers, total, specific column, cell elements. Cell elements. This is a very interesting feature. The data that is there in the sales column, let's say I would like to give it a background color. The moment I turned it on, it is giving a color depending on the range of values present in that column. Depending on the range of values in the column. So this is cell element. And I'm applying the settings to sum of sales. Now you can see a formula icon here, function. So when I click here, it will show me based on what conditions it has applied the color. How did it choose and give the colors? So when we click here, this is conditional formatting. Okay, this is called as conditional formatting. If you have to change the default conditional formatting, which Power BI has applied on that column, when you click on the function box, it is showing us what it has done. So it is applying the gradient to the values that are present in this column. What are the values? Sum of sales. Summarization is summation of the data in the sales column. If at all there are any empty values, it would appear as 0. how should we format empty values? It would appear as 0. Here we don't have empty values. Everything is valid. It's taking the minimum value, giving this shade. You can see the least value over here is 24,000, which just has a very light shade of blue, kind of this color. And then the highest value has the darkest or the deepest shade of blue, which is this color. This is a continuous gradient. It is a continuous field. Okay, it's a measure. It's a continuous field. It's a series of values. So the color is also a continuous gradient like that. Now let's say I will not do anything. Let me cancel. First of all, I will sort this data. How to sort? So when I go to the header, sum of sales, you can see a small triangle, inverted triangle icon. That is the sort icon. So when I click there, data will get sorted. You can see that the highest value has the deepest shade of blue and the least value, 24,031, has the lightest shade. Now let's say my requirement is this. All the values which are above 60,000 should come in one color. Okay, all the values above 60,000, I want them in one color, the brightest shade of blue. So what to do? I'll just go to formatting, go to cell elements. Okay, and now edit this function, the conditional formatting. Highest value is taken as the maximum and this color is given to the maximum, which is the highest value. But we can use custom and change it. I'll make it 60,000. Okay, now what will happen? You can see 60,000 and above, they're all in one shade. And then you have a gradient of colors given to the rest of the members. Okay, so let me again click here. Let's say I want to add a middle color also. I want one more color in the middle. So I'll add a middle color. Okay, and so let's say middle value also I'll custom. I'll use custom, and what values are we dealing with? 20,000 and above. I'll put 25,000 here. Okay, so this color goes to the least value, the lowest value. Values that are in this range will get 25,000. Values that are near to 60,000, means above that, will get one color. Let's see. Look at that. Highest value was this, and beyond that, everything is in one color. From 25,000 and upward, you can see this shade, and the least value has this shade. So you could also introduce a different thing in between. Okay, that's it. You can't introduce one more. Okay, you can't introduce one more condition and say, I want more conditions here. Minimum and maximum will be there by default. At most, you can introduce center. This is conditional formatting. So I'm controlling the color of the data in that cell based on the condition. Similarly, if you would want to give a different color to the font, depending on the data, you could do that. Okay. And then these colors are not so good, right? The color blue and blue, it's kind of getting merged and it's not very clear. So the font color, if you want, we can go and change. So maybe using a dark color would be good. So that on that background, it comes out prominently. Still not so good, but again, you can adjust the colors and you can use different shades. So that is about formatting. Let me go back. Cell elements. Like that, you can format each cell. So we have formatted a numerical cell. How about formatting something else like product? This is non-numerical, right? This is, no. Let me go back to sum of sales. Few more interesting options are there over here. I'll turn off font. I'll turn off the background color also. I'll turn on something called as data bars. So those of you who are familiar with Excel, in Excel also we have this feature called as data bars. What happens is the highest value gets the longest bar, and relative to that, where the other members stand is indicated with the length of the rest of the bars. Okay, relative to the top highest value, the rest of the bars are getting aligned based on the data. Over here, if you might want to make some changes, you could click on this again, conditional formatting icon, and you could change things. Let's say I'm interested in only showing the bar and not the value. So maybe you're not interested in revealing the numbers. You just want to do a quick comparison. Then show bar only. What will this do? It covers or removes the values and shows only the bars. Okay. Let's say the direction of the bar, the color of the bar. Okay, you can use a different color. You can also change the direction of the bar from right to left if you want. So all such options are there. Just click on that, conditional formatting. Most of the options that you see in Excel are available over here. The other option we have is, apart from data bars, we have an option called as icons, icon sets. This feature is there in Microsoft Excel also, and exactly the way it behaves over there, in similar way it behaves over here. So those of you who are not familiar with Excel, I would recommend that you definitely watch our videos on Microsoft Excel. 15 hours worth free training program was conducted, and we have the videos in our channel. Please do explore. So again, for icons also, when I click on the function box, like for conditional formatting, it shows me exactly what type of formatting has been done here. Okay, so it is taking 0 to 33% of the values. The lower 33% of my data are indicated with this diamond shape. The middle 33% of the data, means from 33 to 67%, it is indicated with the triangle. And the higher, the overall, the remaining values, the 67 and upward, up to 100 are indicated with green circle. This. Okay. Now, if you want, you can change the indicator by clicking here. There are many other indicators that we could use. Let's say this one I want to indicate with a green color arrow mark going up. This I want to indicate with a red colored arrow mark going down. Okay, and this I want to indicate with maybe an orange arrow mark going to the side. So you could do this, and you could also actually remove some cases if you want to. Let's say I don't want, let me show. This is the division, right? And I will also turn off the data bars. This is how we are indicating our values. Okay, if we don't want to divide it into 3 parts and you want to just divide it into 2 parts, you could do that. You could just delete this case. So 0 to 50. Okay, and then 50 to 100. So from 0 up to less than 50, greater than or equal to 50, and less than or equal to 100. You can even change the operators here. Okay, so this is high, where the sales is high. I'll change the arrow mark to a green colored arrow mark pointing upward. 50% of the values this is 50% of the data distribution. Okay, it is not just half and half division. It's not just taking the total values, dividing it into 2 halves. It is data distribution, means based on the lowest and the highest value in that range. If I take this range and divide that range into 2 parts, okay, from 24,000 to 128,000, these go on the upper range, upper half. And this is the lower half, like 25 to 75 and then 75 to 125, that kind of thing. Okay, so that way. The values, based on the range of values, it is breaking the data into 2 types. Okay, these are called as icon sets. The concept is similar to the one that we have in Microsoft Excel. So these are some very, very interesting things that are available. Each field you can go choose and you can explore and you can give them the options. I'll just reset to defaults. Let me now try it with product. Okay, with product, which is not numerical, right? If it is not numerical, then what can we do? At most, you can give it a background color. And what color? Look at that. First product summarization by first. Okay, so it's giving a color. Let's say all the text values will get a color now. Everything over there is text. So everything in the product column, based on the product that we have over here. Okay, we'll see that. So we can explore each element that is present in the formatting pane for each, and these are the different things that you can do. All right. These are not very relevant, URL icon, image size and all. I'm not touching upon that, but rest of them, I hope it's clear. General is basically the overall, like general height, width, aspect ratio, means height is to width ratio, whether you want to turn on the title, whether you want to turn off the title. This is just generic things, nothing much there. I'll go back here and everything is reset. So in one go, when I click here, reset all settings to default, in one go, everything is back to what was the default initial thing. So instead of going to each individual section there and then trying to, revert whatever I might have done, with one click on these three dots, it's done, reset all. Okay, so that is about format option. Each visual will have different formatting options. You have to check that some visual specific options also will appear. So I'm happy with this graph. I have not actually made any changes there. Let's minimize this. Maybe leave it there. So this is our first chart, which is basically nothing but a text table. Now, when I click on that graph, suppose this is selected. How do I know that is selected? You can see a frame around it. You can see a frame around it. If this is selected and then you click on some visual, means this chart will get converted into whatever new chart you're going to select. Okay, this chart is getting converted into whatever I have selected, like this. And for each visual, the options that we have down here also will vary. Earlier, it was a table. For table, all I had was columns and a drill through option and whether I'm working with filters and all. Okay, but when I change it to a stack bar, the options are different here. Different set of options have come. I'll go back and make it a table. So when you select a graph and then click on the visual, you're basically changing that chart into whatever visual you select here. If you don't select any graph, if you click in the blank space and then click on a visual, okay, if you click in the blank space and then click on a visual, it will just create a new report. Like in this case, it created the horizontal bar graph, the first one. And when I select this visual, which is horizontal bar that I'm trying to create now, in the visualizations pane, accordingly, you can see the options have changed. Now I have something called as y-axis, x-axis, legend, small multiples, tooltips. And of course, we have drill through, which we will discuss later. Okay. Now I could take fields directly into the graph or I could drop them here. So what should be the, now for example, I just want, let's say state. So I'll just take state in here. So I'm leaving it to Power BI to decide what to do, how to represent the state. It has taken state into y-axis. Okay, and let's say I would like to look at the profit from each state. So I'll bring profit into the graph. And it has taken profit into the x-axis. So state is forming the y-axis and profit is forming the x-axis. I can see the list of states and I can see the profits. And even without my intervention, the data is sorted in descending order. Okay, if you're not happy with this, you could always just remove the field by clicking on the cross mark and design it yourself. Let's say I want profit along the y-axis and I want state along the x-axis. Not the right kind of visual for a horizontal bar graph. It would have been correct for a column chart. Okay, if this were a column chart, it would have made sense. taking count of state by default. Okay. So horizontal bar graph, we'll keep it simple only, not confusing. Okay. So I'll put profit here. I will take state here. Profit and state. Okay, x-axis is state now and profit is y-axis. This is vertical column chart. Automatically, depending on this, it switched into vertical column chart. And state is there in the legend. That is why each state is appearing in a different color. If I remove state from here, all of them come with a common color. So let me remove this again and remove this also. Okay, I would like to have state. I would like to have state on the y-axis. And let me take profit into the x-axis. Remove state from here. Get into y-axis. This is sum of profit. Okay. Right, what went corrupt over here? Just remove it. Let me put it again. All right, horizontal bar graph. State will take into y and profit bringing into x. Okay, so sum of profit per state. You can either directly drop it into the visual or you could take it into these respective axes and legends. Here, state-wise, it is showing me the profit. But what if I might want to color it also, right? So I could just bring market, for instance, into the legend. Okay, we have data corresponding to 4 markets. We have central. You can see all central is highlighted, east, south, and west. And there is a filter at the data model level, which is already applied, right? We have filtering from location. We have the filter to the fact table. That is why when we are filtering, we are selecting something here, something is getting highlighted here, relevant data is coming here. Automatically, they are connected. Automatically, they're connected. If I select this particular product, you can look at the figures. If I select this product, look at the figures. Why is it happening that when I select the market, the fact table data is getting updated? Because here, the filter is such. From this location table, we have a single direction filter filtering out the fact table data. Because the filter is already in place, it is working. Otherwise, it wouldn't have. Okay. Next, tooltips. Okay, now here, when you hover the mouse pointer over any mark in the chart, a rectangular box with the information about that mark is coming up, that this is the state of Iowa, which belongs to central market, and the total profit is so-and-so. This is the state of Ohio, belongs to central market, and so-and-so is this profit, right? So this is called the tooltip. And if you want, you can bring in more details into the tooltip. Let's say along with profit, I would like to indicate sales. So I could just bring sales into the tooltip area. And now the tooltip will not just indicate the data in the graph, but it's also indicating the sales. What are the fields that I used to build the chart? State, market, and profit. And now I brought in sales into the tooltip. Additionally, we are also showing the sales. Okay. For this graph that we have here, what are the formatting options that could be available? Each chart has a different set of formatting options. So when I go and explore formatting options for the bar graph, Y-axis is turned on. If I turn it off, the axis will be gone. Okay, if I turn it on, you can see the axis indicating the names of the states. X-axis, the range of values 0K, 10K, 20K, that is gone. This is the legend. Okay, this is the legend, central. Legend means what? Something that's helping me understand these colors. That light blue is central, dark blue is east, orange is south, and purple is west. That is the legend. If I turn it off, the legend goes away and there's no way we can understand what the color is indicating. So better keep the legend on. And under legend, you have many things to explore, even under axis. Okay, you can change the color of the members on the header. You can change the font type, etc. So again, you see the max area width over there, which is 25% by default. Concatenate the labels if there are multiple values. So a lot of options are there. Just close this. Legend is something that we should explore. First of all is the position of the legend. It is at the top left. If I want, I can change it to top center, or I have a number of options. Now, I'll not show all of them. You can explore at your free time. Let's say I want it at the bottom, at the center. It moves down. Okay, so we can move it like that. Again, you can format the legend. You can decide whether the legend should have a title. If I uncheck this, market is gone. So these are indicating markets, right? That is the title of the legend, which is gone. I'll just reset to default. Grid lines, all these options are there. Color of the bars. Okay, central is coming in light blue, but what if you might want to use a different shade for central? What if you might want to use a different shade for east? You could change it. The colors are automatically given, but if we want, we can go and change them. And my color selection is not so good, but I hope you're getting the idea. You could always go ahead and change the colors. Spacing, inner padding and out. So spacing between them. So if I increase the spacing, you see the bars are becoming thinner and the space between them has increased. This is called inner padding. Okay, we'll keep it at 30. Minimum category width between the categories. This is outer padding. Okay, outer padding, which you can just keep it at 20 or so. This is fine. Data labels. So let's say I want the data labels. But what should it indicate? This is with respect to what? Yeah, with respect to the bars that are in there, right? Enlarge the visual or decrease the data label text size. All right, so what happened? This is supposed to show the values. Okay, I will get back to this. Totals we don't have here. Plot area background also, you can change the shading. Or you could actually use some other image as a background over here if you have something. You can select an image and you can use it as a background. This is an interesting feature. When you have to represent your data on a custom background of your choice, you could do it. So let me go back here. And let me go back to the visualization. And over here, yeah. So these are certain options that we have with respect to a bar graph. Okay. One other chart I wanted to cover, which is a pie chart. So let me delete this. By going to these three dots here, we have an option to remove the graph. We have many options. I would request you all to explore. These are all pretty straightforward. You have something called a spotlight. So you see this gets a slight shading, like a shadow. It gets a shadow kind of thing. It's spotlighted here. In this report, you can spotlight for a moment. You can put spotlight on it. Okay. Then we have export data. The data represented by this graph can be exported and saved into a CSV file. We have options to sort. Right now it is sorted based on whatever value that is present here, profit. What if I might want to sort it based on the state? Then alphabetical order, they are arranged in alphabetical order. And again, I can go and decide whether it should be ascending or descending. If I say ascending, you can see the sequence has changed. Not so good. I want to sort it, okay, based on the sales. Okay, then which sequence? And what if you might want to sort it based on profit and then in which sequence? Ascending or descending. So you can even sort the data over here. Change the way it is sorted. Default will be there. This is focus mode. When you click on it, your chart is kept in focus. So you can see that the other charts are taken out of focus and you're putting the emphasis on this graph. Again, when I click on back to report, it takes me back to my entire dashboard. And this is filters. This we will discuss later. It is related to how you're connecting the chart and how filters are working, which we will discuss mostly in tomorrow's session. Okay, so this is a simple bar graph, which I am going to disable, delete, and then I will show you a pie chart very quickly. So I'll click here and remove it and add a pie chart. So let me click on pie chart and bring it here. We will now see the options that are available with respect to a pie chart. Bar charts are used when you have to perform comparative analysis. Pie charts are used when you have to show the proportions or shares. Depending on the chart, as I told you, the options that we have under visualizations will change under the visualizations pane over here. For a pie chart, it's not giving me x-axis, y-axis. It's instead giving me legend and values. So the member, for example, like if let's say my requirement is to show various products or product types, that will go in under legend. Discrete value goes under legend. The values that you're trying to show, the continuous, the numerical values, they go under values here. Okay, the colors are too bright, but we can change them later. Then there is another extra option here called as details. Okay, so here each slice is indicating the profit made by the business from each product by selling each product. Coffee, then we have tea, we have herbal tea, and we have espresso. But within coffee, which is like one product type, there are multiple variants or varieties of coffee. There are multiple products. So that information you can bring into details. Basically, further subdividing each slice or each pie wedge or further exploding of the pie is what is happening here. So coffee is still in blue, but within coffee, I can see what is the share of each product. Colombian, decaf Irish cream. Okay. Within espresso, latte, mocha, decaf espresso, and regular espresso. Now, within herbal tea, chamomile, lemon, and mint. Within tea, Earl Grey and Darjeeling. So further exploding of the pie is what happens depending on what you take into product. And tooltip is something we are familiar with. Now for this particular pie chart, what are the formatting options available? What if I might want to change the position of the legend? What if I want to indicate more information in this label that has come automatically? What if I'm not happy with the colors? So all such things you can adjust by going to the format option. Legend, let it be on, but I want it at the top in the center, like this. This is better. Legend. Then for the legend, do you want to show the title? I don't want to show the title. Just the legend is enough. Text. What should be the color, font, all that you can adjust. Okay, I'm not going to do much on legend part. Done. Slices in the pie. The colors that are given to the slices, you can adjust. If you're not happy with the default colors given, you can change it. Maybe I want to use this for coffee. I would like to use this for each member. I'm changing the color slightly, okay, using a lighter shade. Then after this, which is basically the colors of the slices, we have detail labels. Position of the labels. The detail means the information. What is it representing and where? So position outside. By default outside, it is always good to leave it on outside for a pie chart. When you move it inside, it will look cluttered. So we'll just make it outside. Next, label content. So right now it is showing data value, means what is the profit and what is the contribution, share, percentage wise, what is the share. If I say all detail labels, then I will be able to see everything, like what is the name of the product, profit and share, percentage share. Okay. Or you could go and choose from the list of options that are available. Whatever you feel is more relevant, you can keep it. Whatever you feel is not so relevant, you can remove. There are options to select from. Only category. Then only the name of the product is coming. Suppose I say data value, then only how much profit that will come. If I say percent of total, only the percentage contribution, so on and so forth. Or all labels, if you feel it's not going to clutter the chart too much, you could use this option. Values. Again, display units. You can see automatically it has rounded it to the nearest thousands. So if I want none, then it will show me the complete value. If I want for the value, I can even put decimals like that. Okay, so now I'll not do it and I'll revert it to thousands like that. Then percentage, number of decimal places in the percentage value. Let's say we don't want it. See 5%, 4%, 7%. So if I increase it, accordingly, it's getting updated. Okay, so the labels very important when it comes to a pie chart. That's it. Rotation. It's simply like you can see, generally it starts at the 12 o'clock mark. Always pie starts at the 12 o'clock mark. You generally have the largest slice, then the next, and then the smallest. Generally, that is the rule of thumb. But if you want, you can rotate it like that. But the rule of thumb is to have the slice start at the 12 o'clock mark. If you want, you can rotate it. Depending on the angle, it will get rotated. So these are some options that we have when we are working with pie charts. Okay, so I will stop the discussion here. What we did today in this class is we explored bar graphs, text tables, pie charts, and understood about various format options which are available. Tomorrow, I will continue with a few more charts and a few more things relevant to each chart. So that's it from my side. Let me look at your questions very quickly. Sorry, I didn't take a break in the middle and check the questions today. Okay. Data set is already given. Okay, not many questions. Okay. Data set is already given in the previous videos session. When you see the comment section of the previous session, not the live comments, I have pasted a comment over there with the link to the data sources. DAX functions, the last 2 days of the training, we will do it. Aditya, it is there in scope and we shall do it on the last 2 days of the training. All right. Okay, then I don't see any more questions. All right. Thank you all so much for attending the classes. And I hope every session is helping you, taking you a step further towards your goal of learning Power BI. Thank you. And I will see you tomorrow for the next session.